Hi, I'm Jack Draper. Shout out to QualityShot Tennis.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. It's another preview and prediction video. It's an ATP Miami Open preview for the round of 16 tie between Jannik Sinner and Andrey Rublev. The head-to-head is 2-all, and it's going to be a very exciting match. I can tell you that because of the two styles that both players have. Before we get into it though, remember to that like button, do subscribe if you're new, and also do remember to leave a rating or review if you're listening on a podcast platform. Also, thank you to all our members as well for all your support. Also, 80% of you, over 80% of you watching these videos are not subscribed. So please do subscribe if you're not already. It really does help us out. It's free, it's quick, it's easy, doesn't cost you anything. And it just helps us with our growth. And it means you'll get alerted to any future videos that come out as well. Okay, let's get into it. So Jannik Sinner against Andrey Rublev. Now the head-to-head is a little bit misleading. And the reason why is because the two matches that Sinner's lost, he has had to retire from both of them. Now, one of them, they just started the match. It was 2-1 on serve, retired. The other was at Roland Garros last year, I think, if I'm not mistaken. He was a set down and then again had to retire. So then not really a good reflection of how this matchup has played out in the past. However, the two matches that they have played to completion, he has won. So I think it's fair to say that he holds the advantage. And that's probably shown here with this TNNS predictor, which says 63% in favor of Sinner. As you can see here, recent meetings, and they haven't included the two where he's had to retire. So Sinner versus Rublev at Monte Carlo, which, it's an interesting one. Like, you look at that 5-7, 6-1, 6-3 to Sinner, and that's on the clay, so not really a huge amount to take from that. If we look at the full breakdown of the four meetings, which should be here, you can see here, yeah, Vienna 2-1, then retired in 2020. 2021, Sinner defeated Rublev again on clay 6-2, 7-6, then defeated him on clay again in 2022 in April, and then about a month later, they played at Roland Garros as one set all actually, and then Rublev ended up winning after Sinner had to retire. I think that's when he had the blisters, and he had a period where he was really struggling with blisters, but it seems like he's got that under control. But he's one of those players at the moment who is relatively injury prone. In terms of the matchup, so what I'm going to do is we've talked a little bit about the head-to-head, current form as well. I mean, both players are in some decent form. So talk about form, and then I'm going to talk about the match as a whole, what to look out for in terms of patterns of play and things that might come to fruition during the match, and then ultimately give you guys my prediction as well, because I do think it's a really intriguing matchup in the sense that we're going to see some massive hitting from both players, no doubt, and they both love to be aggressive. So in terms of recent performances, Sinner impressively beat Dimitrov 6-3, 6-4, beat Laszlo Djere as well. Lost to Carlos Alcaraz in the semi-finals of Indian Wells. No shame in that, of course. He's in great form. Then if we look at Andrey Rublev and his form, beat Kekmanovic in straight sets very comfortably. JJ Wolf was a bit of a battle, but won in straights there as well. And then lost to Cam Norrie at Indian Wells last week. So both players in some decent form. The people they've lost to are Alcaraz, Norrie. They're both very good players. Of course, Alcaraz is the player on tour currently. He's the hottest player on tour right now. So in terms of the matchup, in terms of how does it play out and what to look out for, well, I think there's a few places to start. In the first place, that might be the most natural to start is the serve return dynamic. Now, Andrey Rublev's first serve is a weapon. It is. He definitely has a first serve that can give him and gain him a few extra 3 points, maybe 3 points that you wouldn't normally expect. But the one problem that Rublev might have is that Sinner generally is a very good returner. Now, that definitely will not be ideal for someone like a Rublev, who will be trying to win as many 3 points as possible on the first serve. Now, the second serve is a bit of an issue for Rublev. It is still a work in progress, in my opinion. It's still very, very slow and sits up. And I think for Sinner on a hard court in Miami, where the course is slightly faster than Indian Wells, I think he's just going to pounce on that step in and really make Rublev pay. Similarly, you could say the same about Sinner's serve, because Sinner's serve, so the first serve isn't as potent as Rublev's first serve. Second serves are around the same. And I think obviously Rublev's going to attack the second serve as much as possible, but it's one of those things that maybe Rublev needs to change tact a little bit, and be a bit more tactical about how many first serves he makes, as long as they're still causing the damage required or expected. So yeah, that's an interesting dynamic, the serve return dynamic. I think we've got. The thing with Rublev is his returning isn't great either, but he will try and attack the second serve return. But his returning, I wouldn't say he's the most naturally gifted returner on tour. He's just very good at being able to get around the court, and obviously has very good stamina, no doubt. In terms of other things to watch out for, well, the backhand to backhand is a really important one, because I feel like with Rublev, one of his best shots is the into out forehand, and he'll utilize that a lot. Now, it's not necessarily an issue, but what Sinner is very good at is he's very solid off both wings for the most part, and especially on the backhand side. So, Rublev can either go try and pummel Sinner's backhand and then go line first, but Sinner's backhand is not going to give you many chances, because it is arguably one of the best two-handers on tour right now, in the sense that he is able to generate offense a lot easier. I think for Jannik Sinner, though, the biggest thing for him is to not change too much, because I think he's been playing some really, really good tennis. He needs to stay aggressive, comes to net when he can, try and hit his spots, and that's what he was trying to do throughout most of the match recently. But for Sinner, it's one of those things that he needs to be on point. In the backhand to backhand exchanges, he should be getting the better of Rublev, because his backhand arguably is one of the best on tour, in terms of how, not just necessarily the technique, but how cleanly and crisply he's hitting the ball and how easy he makes the technique look. So, but anyway, in terms of backhand to backhand, I think Sinner, he wins that battle against Rublev. That's the difference. He wins the battle in the backhand to backhand, does Sinner, and Sinner will be trying to pepper the Rublev backhand as much as possible. So Rublev will have to hit some backhands, no doubt. He will try and go line early. His backhand on the line is actually pretty good. But yeah, and then in terms of like forehand to forehand as well for Sinner and Rublev, Rublev's forehand is absolutely massive. And cross court, he gets some good traction. He gets good pop off the surface as well. I would say that Sinner's forehand is also very good, but it's not quite as good as Rublev's, I would say. So Rublev might fancy himself in the forehand to forehand exchanges. Rublev needs to be careful of is getting Sinner on the run with his forehand, because his running forehand is incredible and top 3 on tour, I would say. Just the way he's able to control it, and it's still controlled aggression. In terms of the dynamics, I can't see Sinner really come to the net or Rublev. I think it's going to be won and lost by the at the back of the court. So I actually forgot to my predictions. My prediction is going to be Sinner in straight sets. I think he's going to be able to boss the baseline exchanges. And for Rublev, even though I think he's in some great form, I just think he's not going to be able to take advantage of Sinner's backhand like he would other players. I think the serve return dynamic, I think Sinner's able to potentially edge that as well. So I think overall, Sinner in straight sets, it should be an entertaining match whilst it lasts, but and it could go to 3, but I just think at the moment Sinner's too well-rounded and in good enough form to tame Bois, as they like to call Rublev. Thanks very much, guys. Hit the like button, subscribe for new, and we'll see you on the next video.